Minji Park stood at the front of her classroom, watching 24 young faces looking back at her. 8 of them were human children. The other 16 came from 3 different alien species. 2 years ago, she never would have imagined this moment. Now, it felt as natural as breathing. "Okay, everyone," she said with a warm smile. "Who can tell me what we learned yesterday about sharing resources?" A small Krillian girl raised her hand. Her blue skin caught the light from the windows. Her name was Vera, and she had been terrified of Minji when they first met. Now she was always the first to volunteer. "We learned that different people need different things," Vera said. "And that's okay. It doesn't mean someone is better." "Perfect," Minji said. She walked between the desks, her hand briefly touching Vera's shoulder. The little girl smiled up at her. Station Harmony orbited in the space between human territory and the Krillian Empire. It was supposed to be a symbol, a place where old enemies could learn to live together. The classroom was the heart of that dream. Minji had spent 2 years building trust with parents who feared her. Humans came from a dangerous world. They were stronger, faster, and harder to kill than most species in the galaxy. Many aliens called them Death Worlders, but Minji had shown them something different. She was patient. She was kind. She learned each child's needs and met them without judgment. The Krillian children needed cooler temperatures. The Vorath children needed darker corners to rest in. The Selenite twins needed extra calcium in their meals. She provided everything, asking nothing in return except that they learn and grow together. A human boy named Ryan sat near the window. He was 10 years old and loved to draw. Right now, he was sketching Vera while she talked. He showed talent that made Minji proud. "Miss Park," another student said. This one was human. A girl named Sophie. "Why do some people still hate each other? Even when we're all trying to be friends?" Minji paused. It was a hard question. The kind that mattered. "Because change is scary," she said honestly. "And some people would rather stay scared than do the hard work of understanding each other. But you're all doing that work right now. Every day you come here and learn together. You're proving it can be done." The children seemed satisfied with that answer. Minji glanced at the clock on the wall. Another hour before lunch. She was about to continue the lesson when the lights flickered. That was the first sign. The second sign was the alarm. It started as a low sound, then grew louder. Red lights began flashing along the walls. Minji's heart jumped into her throat, but she kept her face calm. The children looked scared. "Everyone, stay in your seats," she said firmly. It's probably just a drill, but she knew it wasn't. Drills were scheduled. This was something else. Her tablet buzzed. She picked it up and read the message. Her blood went cold. The message was from Lisa Morgan, the station administrator. "Krillian forces attacking station. Evacuation in progress. Get to escape pods immediately." Minji's mind raced. The escape pods were 3 corridors away. She had 24 children to move. Some of them were small. The Selenite twins were only 4 years old. "Okay, everyone," she said, keeping her voice steady. "We need to leave the classroom now. I need you all to hold hands." The older students helped the younger ones. "We're going to walk together, and we're going to stay calm." The children obeyed. They trusted her completely. That trust felt heavy now. She led them into the corridor. The alarm was louder out here. She could hear something else too. Distant sounds. Explosions maybe. Or weapons fire. They moved as fast as they could. Minji counted heads constantly. 24. Always 24. They turned a corner and ran into a problem. The corridor ahead was blocked. Part of the ceiling had collapsed. "Other way," Minji said, turning them around. They hurried back and took a different route. This corridor led past the maintenance section. Minji could see the escape pod bay ahead. Just 50 more meters. That's when the next explosion hit. It was close. The floor shook. Several children screamed. Minji grabbed the nearest ones and pulled them against the wall. "It's okay," she said, though her own heart was hammering. We're almost there. They reached the escape pod bay. Minji's hope died when she saw it. Every pod was gone. The bay was empty. Everyone else had already evacuated. Her tablet buzzed again. Lisa Morgan's face appeared on the screen. The administrator was inside an escape pod, surrounded by other adults. Minji, where are you? Lisa asked urgently. Education sector. The pods here are gone. Lisa's face went pale. The education sector evacuation system failed. We didn't know anyone was still there. Can you get to another bay? Minji pulled up a map on her tablet. The nearest other bay was on the opposite side of the station, through areas that were now under attack. I don't think so, Minji said quietly. Not with the children. Hide, Lisa said. Find somewhere safe and hide. We're calling for help, but the nearest human ships are 6 hours away. Maybe more. Just stay hidden until they arrive. The connection cut off. Minji stood there for a moment, looking at her 24 students. They looked back at her with frightened eyes. Vera was crying silently. Ryan held Sophie's hand tight. 6 hours. She had to keep them safe for 6 hours. Minji made a decision in that moment. A decision that would change everything. Okay, she said, kneeling down to their level. We're going back to the classroom. That's our space. We know it better than anyone else. We're going to make it safe. And we're going to wait there until help comes. What if the bad people find us? A Voreth child asked. Minji looked at each child in turn. Human and alien. All of them hers. Then I'll stop them, she said simply. No one is going to hurt you, I promise. They believed her. Children always believed their teachers. They hurried back to the classroom. Minji's mind was already working on a plan. She sealed the door behind them and looked around the room with new eyes. What could be used? What could be turned into a defense? The maintenance closet had tools. The chemistry supplies had reactive materials. The furniture could be moved. The ventilation system could be controlled from her tablet. Ryan, she said, I need you to take charge of the younger kids. Sophie, you help him. Keep them in the corner by my desk. Everyone else, I need you to do exactly what I tell you. Minji worked quickly. She had maybe 30 minutes before soldiers reached their section of the station. Maybe less. Her hands moved with purpose as she turned ordinary classroom items into something more. The children sat in the corner like she told them. The older ones held the younger ones. Nobody cried anymore. They watched their teacher with wide eyes. She used the plasma cutter to seal 2 of the 3 air vents. The third one she left open but rigged with a sensor from the science supplies. If anything bigger than a small animal tried to crawl through, she would know. The desks stacked against the door wouldn't hold for long. But they didn't need to hold. They just needed to slow the soldiers down. She poured a chemical compound from the lab supplies along the floor in front of the door. It was a cleaning solution, harmless normally. But when it mixed with the air and heated up, it would create thick smoke. Vera, Minji called softly. Come here for a moment. The Krillian girl came over nervously. Minji knelt down beside her. I need you to tell me something, Minji said. Krillian soldiers wear armor, right? What parts of the armor are the weakest? Vera's eyes went wide. You're going to fight them? I'm going to protect you, Minji said. That's different. But I need to know. Vera thought about it. My father is a soldier. He says the joints are weak. The neck, the elbows, behind the knees. That's where the armor bends. Thank you, Minji said. You just helped keep everyone safe. She sent Vera back to the group and continued her preparations. She found the emergency fire kit mounted on the wall. Inside was a fire blanket, a small extinguisher, and a pry bar. She took the pry bar. It was solid metal, about 1 meter long. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. Her tablet buzzed. She checked it quickly. The station's internal sensors showed movement 3 corridors away. The soldiers were coming. Minji took a deep breath. Her heart was racing, but her hands were steady. She had grown up on Earth, in a city where danger was common. She had taken self-defense classes. She knew how to fight. But this was different. This was life and death. She looked at her students. 24 reasons to win. Listen to me, she said to all of them. When the soldiers come, I need you to stay quiet. Stay in that corner. Don't look. Don't make noise. Whatever happens, whatever you hear, just stay there. Can you do that? They nodded. Ryan, the boy who loved to draw, spoke up. We trust you, Miss Park. Those words hit her harder than any weapon could. She smiled at him, trying to look confident. I know you do. And I won't let you down. The sensor on her tablet beeped. The soldiers were in the corridor outside. Minji positioned herself near the door, pry bar in hand. She controlled her breathing the way she had been taught. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Stay calm, stay focused. The door shook. Someone was trying to open it from outside. The magnetic lock held, but barely. A voice called out in Krillian. Minji didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. They were demanding entry. She didn't answer. Let them wonder. There was a pause. Then the door exploded inward. The magnetic lock shattered. The desks she had stacked flew across the room. 3 Krillian soldiers stepped through the smoke, weapons ready. They expected helpless civilians. They found something else. Minji had studied Krillian biology as part of her teaching certification. She knew they had excellent eyesight but poor adaptation to sudden changes in light. She tapped her tablet. The classroom lights went to maximum brightness, then cut to complete darkness, then back to maximum. It took 3 seconds. The soldiers stumbled, temporarily blinded. 3 seconds was enough. Minji moved. She came out of her position low and fast. The pry bar swung hard into the first soldier's knee joint. She felt the impact through her hands. The soldier went down with a cry of pain. The second soldier turned toward her. She was already inside his guard. The pry bar came up under his helmet, catching him in the throat. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to stop him breathing properly. He dropped his weapon and grabbed at his neck. The third soldier fired. The shot went wide because he was still half blind from the lights. Minji threw the fire extinguisher she had grabbed. It hit his chest plate hard. While he was off balance, she swept his legs out from under him. He hit the ground. She brought the pry bar down on his weapon hand. He let go of the gun with a shout. 15 seconds. 3 soldiers down. Minji stood over them, breathing hard. Her hands were shaking now. She had never hurt anyone before in her life. It felt terrible, but she would do it again. She would do worse if she had to. She grabbed the weapons they had dropped. One was a standard Krillian rifle. The other 2 were sidearms. She didn't know how to use them properly, but she understood the basics. Point and pull the trigger. The 3 soldiers groaned on the floor. She used their own restraints to tie them up. Then she dragged them to the storage closet and sealed them inside. Is it over? Sophie called from the corner. Not yet, Minji said. She was checking the corridor outside. But we won the first round. She pulled the broken door closed as much as she could and started rebuilding her barriers. The soldiers would report back. More would come. She needed to be ready. Her tablet buzzed again. This time it wasn't Lisa Morgan. It was a military frequency. A voice spoke in Krillian. Then, in rough human language, human teacher. This is Commander Vex Thor. You have assaulted 3 of my soldiers. Surrender now, and you will not be harmed. Minji picked up the tablet. Her finger hovered over the reply button. Should she answer? Show fear? Show strength? She pressed the button. Commander, she said calmly. I have 24 children in this classroom. 8 humans, 16 of yours. If you or your soldiers come through that door again, I will defend them. That's not a threat. It's a promise. There was a long pause. Then Vex Thor spoke again. You are protecting Krillian children? From Krillian soldiers? I'm protecting my students, Minji said. Their species doesn't matter. They're children. That's all that matters. Another pause. Longer this time. You are one human, Vex Thor said. Alone. Unarmed. You cannot win. Minji looked at the weapons she had taken. At the barricaded door. At her students watching her with frightened but trusting eyes. Watch me, she said, and cut the connection. She turned back to the children. Ryan was holding Sophie's hand. Vera was comforting a crying Vorath child. They were being brave because she was being brave. We're going to play a game, Minji said, forcing herself to smile. It's called Fortress. We're going to make this room so safe that nothing can get in. And while we do that, I'm going to teach you something important. What's that? Ryan asked. I'm going to teach you that courage isn't about not being scared, Minji said. It's about doing what's right, even when you are scared. You're all being so brave right now. I'm proud of every single one of you. She set them to tasks. The older children helped her move furniture. The younger ones organized supplies. She kept them busy, kept their minds off the danger, and while they worked, she prepared for the next attack. Because it was coming. She could feel it. Commander Vex Thor sat in his command post and watched the security footage. He watched this human teacher, this small, unarmed woman, take down 3 trained soldiers in seconds. He watched her speak with calm certainty about protecting enemy children. His officers wanted to send in a full squad. Overwhelming force. End this quickly. 2 hours had passed since the first attack. Minji had fought off 2 more squads of soldiers. Each time they came, she was ready. Each time, she won. But the cost was showing. She had cuts on her arms. Bruises were forming on her ribs. One of her shoulders ached from a hard impact. She was tired, so tired. But she couldn't stop. Wouldn't stop. The children had stopped watching the fights. Now, they huddled in their corner with their eyes closed when the soldiers came. Minji was grateful for that. They didn't need to see violence. They just needed to know they were safe. She had learned to use the Krillian weapons properly now. Trial and error, mostly. The rifle had 3 settings. She kept it on the lowest one. Enough to stun, not to kill. She didn't want to kill anyone. Even now, even when they were trying to hurt her students, her tablet showed the station map. She had been studying it during the quiet moments. The education sector was designed as a separate unit. That was good. It meant the soldiers had to come through narrow corridors to reach her. She could control the approach. She had used that advantage to set traps. Simple things. A tripwire made from cable. A rolling cart positioned to fall when a door opened. Chemistry supplies that created smoke or noise when disturbed. Nothing fancy, just enough to slow them down and give her an edge. Ryan approached her during a quiet moment. He had his drawing tablet in his hands. Miss Park, he said quietly. I've been drawing everything that happens. Is that okay? Minji looked at the tablet. He had sketched the classroom, the barricades, even her fighting stance. The drawings were simple but clear. A record of what was happening. That's very okay, she said. You're documenting history, Ryan. That's important work. Wine. Are we going to die? He asked. The question was direct. Honest. Minji knelt down to his level. She wouldn't lie to him. I don't know, she said, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we don't, and help is coming. We just have to hold on. How long has it been? 2 hours and 17 minutes. So we have 3 more hours and 43 minutes to go. Minji smiled despite everything. You're good at math. My mom says I should be an engineer, Ryan said. Then his face fell. Do you think she's okay? She was in the residential sector. The residential sector evacuated first, Minji said. I'm sure she's safe. And when this is over, you'll see her again. I promise to do everything I can to make that happen. Ryan nodded. He went back to the corner and continued drawing. Minji watched him for a moment. 10 years old and facing death with a pencil in his hand. Children were amazing sometimes. Her tablet buzzed. Not an attack warning this time, A message. She opened it carefully. It was from Commander Vexthor again. Teacher. We have intercepted human military communications. Your fleet is 4 hours away. You cannot hold that long. You are injured. Tired. Surrender now. I give you my word that the children will not be harmed. Minji stared at the message. 4 hours, not 6. That was better than she thought. But 4 hours still felt like forever. She typed a response. Commander, you're asking me to trust you with these children's lives. But you're the one attacking a school. Why would I trust that? The response came quickly. This was not supposed to be an attack on children. Our intelligence said the education sector was empty. That was a mistake. I do not make war on children. Minji thought about that. Was he lying? Maybe. But there was something in his words that felt true. She decided to take a chance. Then pull your soldiers back. Leave us alone until the human fleet arrives. That's the only surrender I'll accept. Axer. Axer, 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 Axer. A longer pause this time. She could imagine him thinking it over. Finally, a response. I cannot do that. My orders are to secure this station. But I can offer you something else. Food. Water. Medical supplies. For the children, Minji was surprised. She looked at her students. They had been snacking on emergency rations from the classroom supplies. Water from the sink. It wasn't much. How would that work? She typed. I will have supplies left in the corridor. My soldiers will withdraw. You can retrieve them safely. It could be a trap. Probably was a trap. But the children needed food. And she needed medical supplies. Her shoulder was getting worse. Fine, she typed. But if this is a trick, if any of your soldiers are waiting, the deal is off forever. You have my word as a commander. 20 minutes later, Minji carefully opened the barricaded door. She held a weapon ready. Her body was tense, expecting an attack, but the corridor was empty, and sitting there in plain sight were 3 containers. She grabbed them quickly and pulled them inside, then sealed the door again. The first container had food packages, Krillian rations, but the children could eat them. The second had water bottles. The third had basic medical supplies, bandages, pain medication, antiseptic. Is it safe? Sophie asked, looking at the food. The commander gave his word, Minji said. She opened a package and took a bite first. If it was poisoned, better her than them. But it tasted normal. She waited 5 minutes. Nothing happened. Okay, everyone. Dinner time. The children ate gratefully. Minji watched them, using the medical supplies on her injuries while they were distracted. The antiseptic stung. She bit her lip to keep from making noise. Vera came and sat next to her. Why did the commander give us food? The little Krillian girl asked. I think because he's not a bad person, Minji said. He's just following bad orders. Sometimes good people do bad things because they think they have to. But you're not following orders. You're doing what's right. Minji looked at the child. That's because teachers get to make their own choices. And I choose to protect you. Even though I'm Krillian? Even though my people are attacking? Especially because of that, Minji said firmly. You're not responsible for what other Krillians do. You're only responsible for who you choose to be. And right now, you're being very brave. Vera hugged her. Minji held the child close, feeling her small heartbeat. This was why she was fighting. This moment right here, somewhere in human space, a fleet was moving at maximum speed. Amy Rodriguez, a news correspondent, was aboard the lead ship. She had been covering the attack on Station Harmony when word came through about the trapped classroom. Now she was reviewing footage that had been sent from the children's tablets. Footage of Minji fighting. Footage of her protecting both human and alien children without discrimination. This is incredible, Amy said to the captain. Does command know about this? Everyone knows, the captain replied. Every ship in 3 systems is racing to get there. Nobody wants to be the one who arrived too late to save those kids. And the teacher? The captain looked at the footage again. Min-ji taking down trained soldiers with improvised weapons. Min-ji carrying injured children to safety. Min-ji standing between danger and innocence. She's making every human in the fleet look bad, the captain said with a slight smile. One civilian teacher doing what whole armies are supposed to do. Protecting the helpless. No matter what, back in the classroom, Min-ji was teaching again. She couldn't help it. It was who she was. Does anyone know what courage means? She asked the children. Being strong? Ryan guessed. Being brave? Sophie added. Not being scared? A Voroth child said. All good guesses, Min-ji said. But courage is actually doing what's right even when you are scared. It's being afraid and doing it anyway. You're all showing courage right now. Just by being here, by staying calm, by helping each other. Are you scared, Miss Park? Vera asked. Min-ji could have lied. But she had promised herself she would always be honest with her students. Yes, she said. I'm terrified. But I'm not going to let that fear stop me from 4 hours into the siege. Min-ji was running on pure determination. She had burns on her left arm from a weapon discharge. Her ribs were definitely cracked, maybe broken. Every breath hurt, but she kept moving, kept fighting, kept protecting. The soldiers were getting smarter. They had stopped coming in small groups. Now they tried different tactics. Gas attacks that she countered by sealing the vents, cutting through walls that she detected with the motion sensors. Even trying to hack the door controls, which she blocked by physically destroying the panel. But she was getting slower. She knew it. The soldiers knew it. It was only a matter of time. Commander Vex Thor watched the security footage from his command post. The human teacher had defeated 7 squads now. 7, his best soldiers, equipped with advanced weapons, beaten by 1 exhausted civilian with improvised tools. But what disturbed him more was the why. She wasn't fighting for territory or politics. She was fighting for children, including his own people's children. That fact kept circling in his mind. His communication officer approached nervously. Commander, we have a problem. The human fleet is 2 hours out now, and they're broadcasting threats. They say if any harm comes to those children, they'll consider it an act of war against humanity itself. Vex's Thor nodded slowly. He had expected that. What he hadn't expected was his own doubt. His orders came from High Chancellor Drumath, a politician who wanted this war. But Vex Thor was a soldier, and soldiers were supposed to protect the innocent, not attack schools. Send message to the teacher, he said. In the classroom, Min-ji's tablet buzzed. She read the message while keeping one eye on the door. Teacher, I want to speak with you. Voice only. No attack. Just talk. Will you accept? Min-ji hesitated. Then, she accepted the call. I'm listening, she said. Vex's Thor's voice came through clearly. You have fought well. Better than many trained soldiers. Why? You know why, Min-ji said. I already told you. These are my students, but the Krillian children. You could have used them as shields, as bargaining tools. You could have saved yourself. Instead, you protect them as fiercely as your own kind. This makes no sense to me. Min-ji almost laughed. It hurt her ribs. It makes perfect sense, she said. They're children. That's the only thing that matters. Not their species, not their planet, just that they're young and innocent and depending on me. How can you not understand that? There was a long silence. When Vex Thor spoke again, his voice was different. Quieter. We were told humans are conquerors, that you would spread across the galaxy and destroy everything in your path. That you see other species as tools or obstacles, but you're not acting like a conqueror. No, Min-ji agreed. I'm acting like a teacher. Because that's what I am. Another pause. What if I could end this? Vex Thor asked. What if I ordered my soldiers to stand down until your fleet arrives? Why? I am I. What if I could end this fleet? Can you do that? Not without consequences. My government wants this war. High Chancellor Drumath has ordered me to take this station at any cost. If I disobey, it will be considered treason. Minji thought carefully before responding. Commander, I can't tell you what to do. But I can tell you this. Right now, in this classroom, I have 8 human children and 16 alien children. None of them care about politics. None of them want war. They just want to go home to their families. If you help make that happen, you'll be a better soldier than any who follow bad orders. The connection went silent. Minji didn't know if she had gotten through to him or not. She went back to her preparations, expecting the next attack. But the next attack was different. Vexthor stood and addressed his soldiers. I am ordering a full withdrawal from the education sector. All forces fall back to the main bay. His second officer stepped forward, confused. Sir, we have orders from High Chancellor Drummeth himself. We're supposed to secure the entire station. The Chancellor's orders were based on bad intelligence, Vexthor said firmly. This was supposed to be a military operation, not an attack on a school. I will not make war on children. Any soldier who disagrees can file a formal complaint after we return home. Nobody disagreed. Many looked relieved. Vexthor sent one more message to Minji. My soldiers are withdrawing. You have my word that no one will attempt to enter your classroom until the human fleet arrives. Use this time to rest. You have earned it. Minji read the message 3 times. Could it be true? Was it finally over? She checked her sensors. The corridor outside was empty. The soldiers were actually leaving. She felt her legs go weak with relief. She caught herself against a desk and slowly lowered herself to the floor. Miss Park? Ryan called out. Are they gone? Yes, Minji said. Her voice cracked. Yes, they're gone. We're safe now. The children cheered. They ran to her, all 24 of them, and wrapped her in hugs. She held them as tears ran down her face. Tears of relief, of exhaustion, of joy that they had made it. But the story wasn't over yet. High Chancellor Drummeth had been monitoring the situation from his command ship. When he heard that Vexthor had ordered a withdrawal, he was furious. Treason, he hissed. The commander has betrayed us. He contacted his personal guard, a specialized kill squad that answered only to him. Soldiers who followed orders without question or mercy. The education sector. There's a human teacher and some children there. I want them eliminated. All of them. Make it look like they died in the crossfire. The squad leader acknowledged the order. 12 elite soldiers moved toward the education sector. Weapons set to maximum power. This time, there would be no restraint. No mercy. Just death. Vexthor detected the movement on his sensors. He saw the kill squad heading toward the classroom and immediately understood what was happening. Drummeth had gone around him, given orders directly to soldiers who would kill children without hesitation. He made a decision that ended his military career. He sent an emergency message to his own troops, all units. We have hostile forces moving on the education sector. They have orders to kill everyone there, including children. I am ordering you to stop them. This is not a request. This is a command. His soldiers responded immediately. They might follow bad politicians, but they wouldn't tolerate child killers. Krillian troops moved to intercept the kill squad. In the classroom, Minji was treating her wounds when her tablet alarmed. New contacts. Moving fast. Multiple targets. No, she whispered. No, not now. Not when we're so close. She struggled to her feet. Her body screamed in protest. She was so tired. So hurt. But she picked up her weapon and positioned herself by the door. Everyone back in the corner, she said. The joy from moments ago was gone. Replaced by determination, the children obeyed without question. They had learned to trust her completely. Then something unexpected happened. The kill squad reached the classroom corridor. But Vexthor's soldiers were waiting. A firefight broke out. Krillian against Krillian. Vex's Thor himself joined the fight. He stood in the corridor and faced down soldiers from his own military. Stand down, he ordered. I will not allow you to harm those children. The kill squad leader sneered. You're a traitor, Vex Thor. Step aside or die with the humans. Then I die, Vex Thor said simply. The fight was brief but intense. Vex Thor's soldiers outnumbered the kill squad. But the kill squad had better weapons. One of them broke through the line and ran toward the classroom door. Minji saw him coming on her sensors. She took a breath, steadied her aim, and waited. When he burst through the door, she was ready. She fired once. The shot took him in the leg. He went down hard, but more were coming. Minji prepared to fight again, even though she could barely stand. But then something incredible happened. The human fleet arrived exactly 6 hours after the attack began. 12 warships, moving at speeds that damaged their own engines. They came in hot and ready for battle. Captain Linda Hayes commanded the lead ship. She expected to find a war zone. Maybe dead children. Maybe a destroyed station. What she found instead shocked her. The education sector was still intact, and standing guard outside the classroom were two groups that should have been enemies. Krillian soldiers and one very tired human teacher, all defending the same door. Minji sat on the floor with her back against the wall. She could barely move anymore. Pain radiated from a dozen injuries, but she was smiling. All 24 children were safe behind that door, safe and alive. Commander Vex Thor stood nearby, also wounded but standing. When the human soldiers arrived, weapons ready, he held up his hands. We surrender, he said clearly. But first, the children need medical attention. Especially the teacher. She has fought for 6 hours without rest. The human soldiers were confused. They had expected a fight. Instead, they found cooperation. Captain Hayes herself came down to the education sector. She looked at Minji, at the Krillian soldiers, at the barricaded classroom. Someone want to explain what happened here? She asked. Minji tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. A human medic rushed to help her. Captain, Minji said, her voice rough from exhaustion. I have 24 students who need to go home. That's all that matters right now. Hayes looked at this small, injured teacher who had held off an entire military force. Then she looked at the Krillian commander who had switched sides to protect children. Medics, Hayes called out. Everyone in that classroom gets full treatment. Human and alien. No exceptions. The classroom door opened. The children came out slowly, uncertain. They had been brave for so long. Now they just looked tired and scared. Ryan held Sophie's hand. Vera held onto a Vorath child. Human medics moved in carefully, treating each child with gentle hands. Alien medics from Hayes's ship, species who had treaties with humanity, also helped. Everyone worked together. Minji watched until she was sure every child was being cared for. Then she finally let herself collapse. The medics caught her before she hit the floor. As they carried her to a medical bay, she heard Ryan calling out, Miss Park saved us. She saved everyone. She's a hero. Minji wanted to say she was just a teacher, but the words wouldn't come. Darkness took her, and she fell into exhausted sleep. She woke up 2 days later in a medical facility. Her body was wrapped in bandages and healing fields. Everything hurt. But it was a manageable hurt. The kind that meant she would recover. Lisa Morgan was sitting by her bed. The station administrator had tears in her eyes. You're awake, Lisa said with relief. The doctors said you would be, but I was worried. The children? Minji asked immediately. All safe. All healthy. They're with their families now. You did it, Minji. You saved them all. Minji closed her eyes and felt relief wash over her. That was all she needed to hear. Over the next few days, the full story came out. Amy Rodriguez had broadcast everything. The footage from the children's tablets had been seen across human space. Minji fighting. Minji protecting. Minji refusing to give up even when the odds were impossible. The story became bigger than just one classroom. It became a symbol. Proof that humanity's strength wasn't in weapons or ships. It was in their absolute refusal to abandon those they chose to protect. Commander Vex Thor was being held in custody, waiting for trial. But his own people were divided. Many Krillians saw him as a traitor, but many others saw him as someone who had remembered what honor meant. High Chancellor Drumath was removed from power, arrested for ordering attacks on children. One day, Minji had a visitor. Kevin Bailey, a young human security officer, came to her room. He looked nervous. "Miss Park," he said, "I don't know if you remember me. I was in your class 5 years ago. Back on Earth." Minji studied his face. Then she smiled. "Kevin, you always sat in the back and drew spaceships in your notebook." He laughed. Surprised, she remembered. "Yeah. That was me. I joined station security because of you. Because you taught me that protecting others was the most important job anyone could have." "I'm glad you listened," Minji said. "I was part of the security force that came back with the fleet," Kevin continued. "When we arrived and saw what you did, holding off trained soldiers for 6 hours, protecting both human and alien children." He paused, searching for words. "You taught us all something, Miss Park. You taught the Krillian soldiers honor. You taught the children courage. You taught the galaxy that if you threaten someone a human has decided to protect, you haven't just made an enemy. You've made something much more dangerous." "What's that?" Minji asked. "A teacher who's angry," Kevin said with a slight smile. News spread across the galaxy quickly. Other species began to understand something about humans. Yes, they came from a death world. Yes, they were tough and dangerous. But that wasn't what made them truly frightening. What made humans frightening was their protective instinct. Once a human decided someone was under their protection, nothing could make them stop defending that person. Not pain, not fear, not impossible odds. They would fight until they won or until they died. There was no middle ground. Alien parents started requesting Minji specifically as their children's teacher. They wanted their children to learn from someone who had demonstrated the highest form of courage, the courage to stand alone against an army for the sake of the innocent. Minji was offered medals, military commissions, speaking tours. She turned them all down. "I'm just a teacher," she told everyone who asked. "That's all I want to be." 3 months later, Station Harmony was repaired and reopened. The classroom was rebuilt, and Minji stood at the front of it once again, looking at a new group of students. This class was bigger, 40 children now, human, Krillian, Vorath, Selenite, and even some species that had never trusted humans before. Ryan was there too, though he was technically too old for the class. He came as a teaching assistant, still drawing everything he saw. Vera visited often. Even though she had moved to an advanced class, she always hugged Minji when she came. On the first day with her new class, a small Krillian boy raised his hand. "Miss Park," he said nervously, "my father says you're the most dangerous human in the galaxy. Is that true?" I, Minji smiled gently. She had heard that title before. Some people called her the Guardian of Harmony. Others called her the Hero of Station Peace. Military analysts called her the most feared civilian in human space. "I'm not dangerous," she told the child. "I'm just a teacher who cares about her students. All of them, no matter where they come from or what they look like." "But you fought so many soldiers," the child persisted. "I did," Minji acknowledged. "Because I had to. Because protecting you is more important than being safe. That's what teachers do. We protect our students. Always." The child seemed satisfied with that answer. Minji began her lesson, teaching basic mathematics to species with different counting systems. It was challenging, rewarding, normal. This was where she belonged, not in military briefings or political meetings. Here, in a classroom, helping children learn to understand each other. Outside the window, human and Krillian ships patrolled together now. The two species had reached a new understanding. An agreement based not on fear or power, but on mutual respect. Respect that came from one teacher's impossible stand. Across human space, Minji's story was being taught in schools. Children learned about the day one teacher held the line alone, when the odds were impossible, when no help was coming, when giving up would have been reasonable. But she didn't give up. She drew a line and said, "No further." And that line held. The galaxy learned something that day. Something important about humanity. They were gentle with those they cared for. Patient teachers. Loving friends. Protective guardians. But if you threatened someone a human had chosen to protect, you would meet something unstoppable. Not a warrior. Not a conqueror. Something more frightening than either. You would meet a human who had made a promise. And humans always kept their promises, especially teachers. Minji continued her lesson, surrounded by children who trusted her completely. Human children who knew she would protect them. Alien children who knew she saw them as equals. 24 had survived because she refused to fail them. Now 40 more learned under her care. And tomorrow, there would be more. Children who needed someone to believe in them, someone to protect them, someone to teach them that the universe was big and scary, but kindness and courage could make it better. She was just a teacher. That's what she always said. Just a teacher doing her job, but to the galaxy, she was something more. Proof that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their warships. It was their heart, their absolute unwillingness to abandon those who depended on them. She was Minji Park, teacher, guardian, hero, and she was exactly where she belonged. Krillian soldiers entered the classroom. But they weren't attacking. They were forming a defensive line. Between her students and the kill squad, they were protecting the children. Alien soldiers protecting alien and human children from their own people. Commander Vex Thor entered last. He was bleeding from a wound in his side, but his eyes were clear. "Teacher," he said, "my soldiers and I will hold this position until your fleet arrives. You have my word." Minji stared at him. This alien commander who had attacked her station, now protecting her students. "Why?" she asked. "Because you were right," Vex Thor said. "They're just children. That's all that matters." Together, human teacher and alien soldiers held the line. 1 hour and 43 minutes until the fleet arrived. Si Ting Yu. The children absorbed this. Outside, soldiers were gathering for another attempt. Inside, a teacher was giving the most important lesson she would ever teach. How to stand firm when the world is falling apart. How to choose compassion over hate. How to protect the innocent at any cost. The tablet beeped. Another attack was coming. Minji stood up, checked her weapons, and positioned herself by the door. "Corner," she told the children. Eyes closed. "Remember, you're safe with me." They obeyed immediately. Minji took a deep breath and prepared herself. Her body ached. Her hands were sore. But her resolve was iron. 3 hours and 12 minutes left. She could do this. She would do this. Because that's what teachers do. They protect their students. Always. No matter what. But Vex Thor hesitated. Something about this human troubled him. She fought like a warrior but spoke like a teacher. She was defending Krillian children from Krillian soldiers. Nothing in his training had prepared him for this. "Send another squad," he finally ordered. "But tell them to use caution. This human is more dangerous than she appears." In the classroom, Minji checked her preparations one more time. She was ready. As ready as she could be. The children were quiet now, watching her. "It's going to be okay," she told them. And in that moment, she believed it. She had to believe it. Because the alternative was unthinkable. Can you do that?" They all nodded. Minji started moving. She pushed desks against the door. She grabbed tools from the closet. A plasma cutter. A magnetic clamp. A pneumatic drill. She pulled up the station schematics on her tablet and studied them. The children watched their gentle teacher transform into something else. Something focused and dangerous. "Miss Park," Vera said quietly. "Are you scared?" Minji stopped and looked at the little Krillian girl. She could have lied. But she didn't. "Yes," she said. "I'm very scared." But being scared doesn't mean we stop. It means we're brave enough to keep going anyway. She went back to work, and her students watched in silence as she turned their classroom into a fortress. Outside, Krillian soldiers were getting closer. Inside, a human teacher was drawing a line that would soon become legend.